According to FIFA estimates, in the following 30 days, 1.7 million people will visit Qatar. So yeah, the 22nd World Cup will take place, the first time ever in an Arab country. Among the multiple records that this event will break is the fact that this is the smallest country ever to host the Cup. With its 11,490 square kilometers is 3.4 times smaller than Switzerland, the World Cup organizer, in 1954, meaning that the 64 games will be played in venues that are no further away of 55 kilometers from each other. The host country is surrounded by a halo of wealth, luxury, and eccentricity. But how prosperous really is Qatar? This is the question that we will try to answer in this video. After considerable controversy, Qatar was granted the organization of this year's World Cup. Not only were doubts cast over the treatment of migrant workers, the risk for LGBT+ fans, climate harshness, costs, Qatar's limited football history, and alcohol consumption during the events, but also corruption. The Sunday Times claimed to have documents proving that football officials received more than $5 million to support the Qatar bid. FIFA appointed an independent ethics investigator to examine these allegations. His report didn't provide compelling evidence of corruption but stated that bidders tested rules of conduct to the limit. Later the same paper stated that Al Jazeera, Qatari state-run television channel, secretly offered $400 million to FIFA for broadcasting rights. FIFA refused to comment on these accusations, saying that allegations linked to the FIFA World Cup 2022 bid have already been extensively commented on by the published report of the independent ethics investigator. Local authorities' investigations led to the arrest of former football star and UEFA president Michel Platini in 2019. Platini and former FIFA president Sepp Blatter were both found guilty of ethics violations and barred from the sport until 2023. Qatar is located in the homonymous peninsula that juts out into the Persian Gulf. It only shares a continental border with Saudi Arabia. It is mostly a flat, sandy land, with the highest elevation reaching only 103 meters. During the summer, the average high temperature is 42 degrees, which is why the Cup was moved to November and December, when we expect 25 to 30 degrees. Although having human settlements for more than 50 millennia, Qatar's modern history starts in the 18th century, when families from Kuwait moved to the peninsula in 1766. For almost a century, it was under Bahraini and Saudi rule, and the economy of the small town of Al-Zabara depended on pearl diving and trade. The Ottoman Empire took over the Qatar Peninsula in 1871. Years later, in 1916, it became a British protectorate. During this period, the first oil discoveries were made. On September 3, 1971, Qatar declared its full independence from Britain, becoming a member of the Arab League and the United Nations. Qatar's demographics are very particular. Currently, it has a population of 2.9 million, from which only 313,000 are Qatari citizens, and the remaining are expatriates who compose 94% of the workforce. 80% of the population lives in the capital city of Doha. There are 176 inhabitants per square kilometer, making it only the 76th more dense country. 65% of Qatar residents follow Islam, 15% Hinduism, 14% Christian, 3.3% Buddhist, and the rest follow other religions. In Governanz, we claim that prosperity is achieved when a nation performs well in 4 different but complementing aspects. These are institutions, security, productivity, and social mobility. So let's see how this small and now very popular country performs in each of these aspects. Institutions are the rules that allow a society to function well and prosper, particularly those that give support to the political and economic systems. In terms of its political system, Qatar Democracy Index barely scores 3.2 over 10. This ranks the country as a full autocracy and has one of the worst performances in this aspect. Certainly, since the 19th century, Qatar has been ruled by the House of Thani, with the government headed by the Emir, nowadays Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Although it has a 45-member legislative body or consultative assembly, with 30 of them being elected and the other 15 appointed, this body can only question the Prime Minister, who in turn is appointed by the Emir, if 2/3 of the members agree, which is unlikely given that the Emir appoints 1/3 of the members. Given this facts and other related indicators, Freedom House, the prestigious North American think tank, asserts that Qatar's hereditary emir holds all executive and legislative authority and ultimately controls the judiciary as well. Political parties are not permitted, and the only elections are for a municipal advisory council. While Qatari citizens are among the wealthiest in the world, the vast majority of the population consists of non-citizens with no political rights, few civil liberties, and limited access to economic opportunity. In contrast, Qatar's economic rules embrace a reasonably high level of freedom. According to Heritage's Index of Economic Freedom, the country scores way above its Arab neighbors and the world average. Moreover, this indicator shows that Qatar has significantly improved its rules to reach an economic-free society. Regarding security, Qatar is one of the safest places in the world, with less than one homicide per 100,000 inhabitants. Moreover, this very low level of anthropic harm is coupled with a very low incidence of entropic one. This is so since, according to the World Risk Index, the country enjoys an almost perfect score in terms of exposure to environmental threats and hazards. In other security aspects, until very recently, Qatari criminal code allowed questionable provisions such as flogging and stoning to be imposed as criminal sanctions. Therefore, by international standards, Qatar's judicial system doesn't perform optimally, reaching a judicial effectiveness score of 58 over 100. However, this is already way above the world average. We may think that the most substantial aspect of Qatar's prosperity is its productivity. But, like those who follow our channel and our course must probably have already learned, we assess productivity in a much broader sense. So, let's see this in detail. Indeed, Qatar is among the wealthiest countries in the world in terms of its GDP per capita, which as of 2020, reached $50,805. This figure is more impressive if we consider that by the turn of the millennia it was less than 30,000. Moreover, between 2010 and 2012, the country gained the title of the richest country in the world, exactly when they were awarded the World Cup. This incredible output performance is due to its fuel exports, but mainly for being the world's largest exporter of liquefied natural gas. Qatar was a member of OPEC from 1961 until the beginning of 2019. Also, this nation is one of the fastest growing countries in tourism, a sector that is likely to improve even further after the World Cup. But being the number one producer of liquefied natural gas also places Qatar as the world's largest emitter of carbon dioxide per capita. As a result, the country has the highest ecological footprint, with 14.7 global hectares per capita, and with a biocapacity of just 1 hectare per person, it produces an environmental deficit of 13.8 hectares. This means that Qatar would require 15 countries to compensate for the ecological impact of its productivity. Moving further into other aspects of productivity, Qatar's macroeconomic stability is in good shape, although having no income tax and one of the lowest tax burdens in the world. According to the World Economic Forum, the country's handling of its fiscal balance and inflation is outstanding, with a score of 99 over 100. Moreover, this is the result of a permanent improvement over the last decade. Those of you who follow our free MOOC know that productivity is also the result of continuous capital formation, not only in financial terms but also in the labor force's skills, the innovation of the productive sector, and the country's infrastructure. Qatar's performance is mediocre in this aspect. Indeed, for the International Monetary Fund its financial development only scores 52 over 100. Furthermore, it also has a poor level of innovation according to the World Economic Forum. However, the country enjoys an excellent level of infrastructure. Among the most outstanding features in this regard is its state-of-the-art Doha Airport, which serves 37 million passengers annually, making it the 50th busiest in the world. As part of this air transportation strength is Qatar Airways, one of the largest airlines in the world and awarded the Airline of the Year on 5 occasions. Furthermore, on the seaport services front, the Hamad port over the Persian Gulf is capable of handling 7.8 million tons of products annually. Last but not least, the Ras Laffan port, on the country's northern coast, is the largest port in the world for liquefied natural gas. In a related aspect, it's worth mentioning the presence of the Al Jazeera media network, founded in 1996, which is probably the largest Arabic media group and outlet. Closing our analysis of Qatar's productivity, we focus on its performance in international trade. We assess the country's trade openness using the World Economic Forum Competitiveness Index. According to this indicator, Qatar has a poor performance, with a score of 31 over 100, falling under the global average. The last aspect of prosperity is social mobility, or the ability of a nation to spread its wealth to all its residents, provide a safety net, and create opportunities for everyone. According to the data available, no one lives under the poverty line in Qatar, which is remarkable. However, in terms of inequality, the most recent estimate comes from 2007, when the Gini coefficient was 59, which was way worse than the world average for that year, and any year since for that matter. This conflicting picture complicates even further when we consider that it is the only country that reports a salaried employment of 100% to the International Labour Organization. Much of this rather ambivalent scenario is explained by the behavior of Qatar's labor market, which heavily relies on migrant labor. Most of this country's labor force is comprised of foreign nationals who come to Qatar only because of its abundance of jobs. The largest expatriate population is Indians, followed by Nepalis, Bangladeshis, Filipinos, Egyptians, Sri Lankans, and Pakistanis. This phenomenon also affects Qatar's demographic profile since it has been estimated that there is a female for every 3 males. The prestigious British newspaper, The Guardian, has denounced migrant worker exploitation to prepare Qatar for the World Cup. They reported that in 2014, Nepalese migrants involved in constructing the infrastructure for the event died at a rate of 1 every 2 days. Moreover, according to the same media outlet, as of February 2021, some 6,500 migrant construction workers had died, mostly from multiple blunt injuries, asphyxia, and other heat exhaustion-related causes. Moving on with social mobility, Qatar's ability to deliver social services has ups and downs. On the bright side, UNICEF rates the country's early childcare services with a score of 84 over 100, and data from the World Health Organization places Qatar's coverage of water and sanitation services over 96%. On the not-so-bright side, the World Bank's Human Capital Index for Qatar is only 0.64, and the Universal Health Coverage Index is just 68. The concern for this low performance led the authorities to hire the prestigious American RAND Corporation to reform its K-12 education system. It has also embarked on a project led by the Qatar Foundation called Education City, which consists of a 12 square kilometers university campus, in which 8 prestigious international universities have placed satellite campuses, and it actually is the location of one of the stadiums of the World Cup. Overall, Qatari social mobility is good. This explains why its Human Development Index is 0.85, and its Social Progress Index is 71 over 100. Let's wrap up this assessment of Qatar's prosperity by showing how it performs in our own Governanz Prosperity Index. As we can see, the overall score is 71, while the global and Arab world average is just 54. This places Qatar as the 32nd most prosperous country in the world, and the 11th among those who have been hosts of the World Cup. Its strong prosperity aspects are security and social mobility. Its lowest point is in institutions, resulting from a very autocratic political system. In terms of productivity, while it is a very rich country, its environmental impact is among the worst on the planet because of the kind of product that it exploits and sells to the world, liquefied natural gas, and also because it is not creating enough skills and innovation within its population, besides being very close to international trade. And this was probably an excellent reason to embark in organizing this World Cup. Thank you for the privilege of your time, and happy World Cup.